Hello and welcome to the Dublin Arsenal podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan Giles. On tonight's show, I'm joined by Dublin Arsenal committee members and season ticket holders Eamonn Donnelly and Sandra Duffy to chat about their Gooner memories from yesteryear to present day. And remember to support our very own Martin Stumble for Movember in aid of Men's Mental Health Month. Every donation, no matter how big or small, helps. Thank you for your support. So sit back and enjoy the show. As I said in my intro, I'm joined by my regular guest at this stage, who's been with me since 2021 when we started first. Eamonn Donnelly, how are you, pal?
Evening, Jonathan. Evening, Sandra. A friend of mine there, he got sacked from the calendar factory. All he did was take a day off. I'll replace me bed there with a trampoline. My wife at the roof. How you doing? All good.
It's great to have you on, Eamonn.
I think I've too much time to think over these international lulls, you know. They're bad for your mental health. You know?
Thank God. Thank God this is the last international break till March. So it's football all the way in the Premier League, Champions League and FA Cup for the opening weekend of January. I'm also joined by Dublin Arsenal committee member Sandra Duffy. It's great to have you on, Sandra. How are you?
Thank you, Jonathan. Hi, Eamonn. Finally, you're finally getting me on.
The sweaty palms are there at the moment. But
it's the only way we could out you to the Arsenal public, Sandra, you know. They all thought you just lived behind an email.
Exactly, absolutely. Yeah.
It's great to have you on, and may all the nice comments, likes come after this podcast. Hopefully our ratings shoot up with Sandra on.
Oh, well, no.
It can either go uphill or downhill. So at the moment, we're hoping that it goes in a positive direction. But it's great to have two members from the Dublin Arsenal Supporters Club Committee, being the 35th anniversary of the club this year, which happened a few weeks ago. Sandra, would you like to tell our listeners and viewers what you do on the Dublin Arsenal Committee?
So I'm currently the secretary of Dublin Arsenal. I took over the reins from Eamonn back in 2019. So, and it was kind of just coming up to 2020 when COVID hit that we were kind of taking it in a different direction. So, but it's going really, really strong now. So between myself and Eamonn, we kind of look after the ticketing for the members.
And the demand for tickets is like never before, and with this new ballot system, Sandra, it's just getting harder and harder, isn't it, for Arsenal tickets?
Absolutely.
We're just doing so well, yeah.
Absolutely. So, like, I mean, with the supporters clubs, like, there's only 1,000 support tickets for supporters overall between UK and overseas. Now we fall into the overseas category, so there's actually only 300 tickets for overseas for supporters clubs. And there's quite a few supporters clubs in the overseas. Whereas like you'll have Arsenal Spain, you'll have Arsenal Canada, America. Whereas there's actually a lot of clubs, separate supporters clubs within Ireland alone. So we've quite a good fan base overall in Ireland. But yeah, so it is, demand is high. And like a few seasons ago, Arsenal capped all supporters clubs. So like we're all capped at a level now, and now that could change at any stage. Arsenal bring in more supporters clubs, that dwindles down the pot more. So we just kind of have to go season to season as the guidelines by Arsenal in what they give us as our allocation. So we just have to take each game as it goes. So, but look, so far we try and work it out as best we can. You know what I mean? Not every game is going to be successful, but we'll move on to another game, you know? So we try to be as fair as we can within our guidelines from Arsenal. So yeah, but so far so good. It's all going quite well.
Yeah, the tickets are spread evenly, and like at some point over the season of the 19 home games and whatever games we have in the Champions League and Cup matches, fans will get to see them at least once.
Absolutely.
You know, like
Absolutely.
at least once, you know, and that anything else is a bonus, really, isn't it? You know, once is the way Arsenal are playing at the moment over the last 2 or 3 years. The demand has just been incredible, isn't it?
Oh, a massive amount. Like, you know what I mean? Now we've a very, very good fan base. And again, going back to like we have to follow in the guidelines from Arsenal. So like that could change at any time. So we might have to change the way we tier our memberships, and so we just have to go with that. But definitely demand is really, really, really high.
Yeah.
But we do encourage, and obviously when Arsenal went very much digital last season, so each member has to be a member of Arsenal Football Club, so that they know who's sitting in each seat. And from that, we encourage that Arsenal members of any supporters club are actually using the ballot within Arsenal. They're not relying solely on their supporters club. So we do encourage that as well. They have that fallback as well, that they may be lucky to get in the ballot if they can't. So they're not relying totally on the supporters club.
Jonathan,
Yeah.
can I just make one point, because
Yeah,
Sandra
go ahead.
would be too humble to make it about herself. No, I'm serious now. One of the reasons why we kind of punch above our weight in terms of the amount of tickets we get. And one of the reasons for that is we've developed a very cordial and healthy relationship with the people who run the tickets at Arsenal. And, you know, and Sandra works very hard at that behind the scenes. And people wouldn't realize that or recognize that, you know. And, you know, whereas if you kind of start falling foul of these people, you're not doing yourself any favors. So it's very hard. It's very important that the relationship between box office ticketing and the supporters club is good. And like Sandra has been to the forefront in developing that relationship. And it's one of the reasons why we get the number of tickets we do, you know.
True.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And there's talk, I don't know how true it is, but from what I've seen on social media the last couple of days, there's talks of Arsenal expanding the stadium to 80,000 seats, which could be probably a bit way off, yeah, but it would really help, wouldn't it, in terms of for supporters clubs if they are to keep adding on, you know, like fingers crossed, the momentum is with us at the moment. So, yeah, 80,000 would be fantastic if it does happen. Also, to both of you, it's great to see the Dublin Arsenal flag at the Emirates Stadium, isn't it? It's such a nice touch, isn't it?
Oh, very much so. Like, and it's quite iconic. Now, I know there are other ones that are kind of a little bit more, but like we've quite a good
Yeah.
size one. Now
Yeah.
there is talk we can actually look to and change it, because there for a long time, like Arsenal
Yeah.
very much like we had to use their logo, and they've kind of dwindled down on that a little bit now, so they're pulling the reins off that we can use our own logos. So we're kind of going to work with them to see whether we can see what we can do to change it. So again, it's working within their guidelines, and as Eamonn said, like we've built up a lot of rapport over the years with them,
Yeah.
and constantly we have regular meetings. Like, so there's a lot that goes on in the background, you know what I mean, as well. But hopefully, we might be able to change that crest a little bit.
And and if anybody can't locate it, we have the privilege. I hope it's never moved. We're beside Rocky.
Yeah.
True.
It's actually iconically placed, yeah.
Yeah.
I have to say, the other one that sticks out when you look in the stadium as well is the Sligo Arsenal one. It's right in the bang smack in the corner, yeah, which is nice as well.
Oh, Jonathan, if you want match tickets in future, you can ring Sligo.
They have said that they're going to make they are making a donation towards Martin Stumble's November. Courtesy of a few free tickets. Sligo Arsenal, are you listening? Eamonn's last show, sadly, is tonight. It's on number 1 done. Also, Sandra, the 35th anniversary of the club was a few weeks ago. It was such a good turnout as well, but I have to say he's put on some show. How did the day go in your view?
Really, really good now, considering the results. But anyway, we made the most of it. Yeah, it was really, really good. It's such a good, like, you know what I mean, like amazing 35 years, you know what I mean? And it was great to have the two founders of the club back then. Like, they literally put an advert in the Evening Herald back 35 years ago after the iconic 89 against Liverpool. So that was the kind of the start of it. So fair play, and it's continued over the years, and it's increased. Like, it's fantastic. So we had a good turnout, good few junior gunners, which is good. Like, we encourage junior gunners to come in and make it a family. Like, and it's all part of the community. That's what we've really, really worked hard over the years. The guys in the social media background, really, really kind of getting that community base. And it's great to see so many people turning out, you know what I mean, just, you know, for games. It really, really is. So it was a good turnout, really, really good. And like, we had a good kind of, feedback, from the members as well, and we provided something to them, like, they all got a drinks voucher, we had food, all the raffle didn't cost anything to members, so it was something in return to them for supporting us and keeping us going, so yeah, so it was really good.
And the Samaritans were on standby after the game.
I have to say, Eamonn's been through the chicken tin of it, all right, as you can see, is exceeding her line there. Yeah, it's so spacious downstairs in the river bar as well. It's just quite perfect, really, isn't it? It's just the perfect amount of space for the fans that we have that go. Yeah, and a big shout out to the river bar. They put on some show for us over the last few years there. Yeah, Eamon, you've been in the supporters club throughout, really, haven't you? You've moved bar to bar with them. What's your memories of the early years?
Well, no, you see, I might have referenced this on a previous show, and I won't dwell too long on it because I know we're going to delve down memory lane in terms of matches remembered and that. But when I read the ad in the Evening Herald, I genuinely thought, there's nobody who's going to see. I don't support Arsenal. I worry about them. There's a difference. I said to myself, I'm not going down to meet a gang of lads or girls who don't get it the way I do, because I thought there was nobody mad enough. And then I eventually took myself down and realized, I'm not in a minority group anymore. We're all a dedicated bunch. Now, it's been a pleasure over the years, and I've been around from venue to venue, had some great memories, but all of the memories are associated with the football club that we love. And I always say, like, Arsenal is family, and with the friends that I've made from the Arsenal Supporters Club over the years, present company included, by the way, it's been an absolute pleasure, and you wouldn't be seen short in life with those type of friendships,
Yeah, absolutely, I agree.
Such a nice touch, that, Eamon, and I know you're aiming for more tickets for the season. So if you keep up them compliments, you should be all right. No, I have to say it's a great job that you do in the Dublin Arsenal Supporters Club committee. So keep it going, and long may it continue for the next 35 years. All going well. As long as there's no more meltdowns over the years. Since it's your debut, Sandra, and you're mad enough to come on, can I get your take on our opening 11 games of the season, Sandra, in the league and in the Champions League? Are you happy enough with the way the season has started 3 months in?
Oh, well, look, you know what I mean? We're 11 games in, so, like, I know we're 9 points behind, but look, we've had a few injuries and a few games that we thought we could have won, but sure, look, we just have to keep going. We just have to recoup now after the international break and get back at it now on Saturday. You know what I mean? Champions League, still trying to get used to that format. It's a little bit kind of funny, isn't it? So I suppose it's we just kind of have to push forward now until Saturday, and let's hope we can get a result against Forest and take it from there.
Yeah, it's a big one now coming up. It feels like January. At the start of January, after the defeats to West Ham, Fulham, and this is hopefully the reset to kick us on again. Do you believe that should be a freshness about us? And at the moment, I've heard of no injury. So, are you confident that we can kick on?
Well, Trossard was taken off the other night. Look, I mean, we'll talk about we later in the week. We can talk about the stuff coming up. But I mean, look. We've had a horrendous run of injuries, a horrendous run of fixtures, a horrendous run of poor luck with bad refereeing decisions. And it's almost like, we're a boxer who's gone in injured into a boxing ring, and we're still standing. And I hope that, like as John Melia said on the show last week, if we can get our first choice team out, we'll be a serious outfit. And we've been patching the team up all season. So let's hope that following the international break, particularly the players that didn't go, that we can get a good team out on Saturday. We need to win. It doesn't matter how we get it, we need it. And if we do that, we can kick on, and we can talk about that on other shows,
Yeah, I'll go. And
then with our fixtures in
both home and away in December are all in London. So hopefully that's That's a big plus. Yeah, 100%.
Sorry, Jonathan, just to finish on this, right? About before we go into the other part of the show, like the game against Forest is at home, and then we're away at West Ham, and that would be and away at Sporting. So that would be one home game and 6 away games. You know, that's tough. You know.
Yes, yeah, we have had a tough start in those 11 games, playing the top sides as well. So, I think we're due probably a bit of luck, and hopefully we kick on through the end of November into December. And you know, as Eamonn said last week, 5 or 6 wins in a row, and the whole mood changes. But yeah, we look forward to that as the weeks go on. Since it's a special show going down yesteryear, since it's the international break, I'll come to yourself, Sandra. Name your 3 favourite players from over the years since you've started supporting Arsenal.
Since I've started supporting Arsenal, so well, just going back to my first time memory. My first time memory is '89, standing outside the window looking in on that Friday night. My first game was in Highbury in '91 against Leeds at the beginning of the season. So after that, then I was hooked. Merson was my all-time favourite. That he was just it. So meeting him then in August was just, for me, that was, I'm done now. I don't mind who else I meet once I got Merson. And because like it was just a little bit of memory on that now. You might remember Eddie McGoldrick played for Ireland back at the time, and he was playing for Arsenal, and my dad's cousin was very good friends with Jack Charlton. So we arranged for 2 tickets for him for Arsenal v United in Highbury. In 1994. And so now I didn't get to go. He brought my uncle, who's a United player or a supporter. But the day before broke the whole thing about Merson. So he was gutted he didn't get to meet Merson, because Dad got to meet all the players afterwards, like Seaman, Dixon, Winterburn, the whole lot. But that's just a little memory. But probably Ian Wright after that, and Henry. They were, yeah,
it's not a bad trio of players, that I would say. Yeah, he's quite a character, Paul Merson and Ian Wright. Eamonn, your 3 favourite players over yesteryear, I'm sure that's coming from different generations.
Well, I think I'm my own favourite player, Jonathan. My favourite player is Liam. Like Liam, like I was called after Liam in school. My name in school was Chippy, because I was so obsessed with Liam Brady, you know. And anybody who knew me, even fellas who I bump into now, who would have known me up to my early 20s, if they met me on the street, they'd address me as Chippy. And Liam was, like as Johnny Joel said something about him that night in the Mansion House. He said, he's one of our best ever players, certainly our most beautiful in this country. He was a beautiful player, and he was brilliant. Dennis Bergkamp, to me, is the greatest player ever to wear the short. You know, I'm watching him like a ballet dancer across the grass. He was just majestic, and I think he changed everything about Arsenal. And then the other favourite player I have is the man who you and I met, Jonathan, when we played on the pitch that day. Charlie George, yeah. Charlie's the reason I became a Gooner. My dad, in the 71 Cup final, I was only 5.5. My dad told me we were following Liverpool. I don't take direction very well. And Charlie scored the winner, and that was it for me. And, you know, I've met Charlie a number of times, and he still lives in the area, local boy, terrace boy, you know. Last time I saw him, I met him coming out of a chemist on Upper Street in Islington. And Sparky John was with me, Johnny Goo, you know, and Johnny Goo says, "There's Charlie." Right, so I says, "Okay." So we said, you guys got talking to him, we get a picture. And Charlie had a mask on, you know. And Johnny Goo was on to get the mask off for the photo. I said, "Will you leave him alone?" You know. But he was coming out with a bag of medication, and he said, "No," he said, I'm not that bad. I've just had a new hip put in, you know." Very down to earth fella, Charlie, and like he's the reason why I'm a Gooner. So Liam Brady, Dennis Bergkamp, Charlie George for me.
Yeah, I was asked just briefly, I was at Emirates Stadium tour a few years back, and I got Charlie George as the tour guide. He says he was making more money doing the stadium tours than he was playing. I says how times have changed, but it's great to still be associated with the
Yeah,
football
but the
club.
pint of beer was only five pence at the time.
Yeah, it's not £10.70
Yeah.
for a hot dog. And it wasn't that shite Camden A either.
Rocket
Yeah.
fuel.
Oh Jesus, especially when you're losing. Yeah, I suppose Ian Wright started off for me in '98. He was the main man. I suppose Thierry Henry wouldn't been far behind him as a second. I suppose in the modern day now, I'd probably say Bukayo Saka now is definitely my third favorite player. But he's still early in his career. But that's how high I regard Bukayo Saka now. You know, as world class. It's a high praise for such a young player, but he deserves that title at the moment. I think, you know, I suppose that's just us being biased in terms of saying that, but Star Boy, as he's known. To yourself again, Sandra, name your 3 favourite Arsenal matches attended, home or away, in the league or in Europe, that gave you the best memories.
Best memories. Let me see now, because I've only started recently, like, you know what I mean, say since about 2015 now, going over to the games. Before I joined Dublin Arsenal, I was part of a supporters club that I helped start up in Northwest Meath.
Right.
So because then we could obviously have the opportunity of getting tickets, I took the opportunity and snapped them, and I'd go traveling off on my own to the matches, and I loved it, absolutely loved it. So one of the games that I did get to go to was Arsenal and Leicester in 2016. That Leicester won the season in the end, but it got changed. It got changed 3 weeks beforehand to the Valentine's Day at 12 o'clock kickoff. So I had to make some changes to kind of get the flight and everything like that. So I said, I wasn't missing another game. I'm going. So Welbeck came on and scored, and like the stadium, not one supporter left the stadium. But that was just electric that day. I know after that we went on to, we won't even go there. But that was one game. It was just amazing, the atmosphere in the stadium. It really, really was. After that, I'd say Arsene Wenger's last home game, 2018. That definitely, that was just amazing. Really, really was now, you know. That's the second one. Third one, do you know, I've never been to the Emirates that we have never lost a game. Never lost a game. It's either win or a draw. So.
Yes, it's a nice record. Somebody that keeps going. Yeah.
Third one, I'd say probably this last season now, because I, you know what I mean, started going over a little bit more last season, and I met him with some, like, I've met some great friends, as Eamonn's mentioned as well, even over the years. And that's what's kind of kept me going to some of the games. It was just meeting so many people. You're never on your own with football. You are never. You'll always meet someone, and just the laughs you'll have and everything. So even any game you go to, no matter what the result is, you'll always have good memories. Do you know what I mean? There'll be some laugh or something during the day that will just take your mind off, you know? So yeah, I think that's probably just any of the games last season I really enjoyed, because I went to a few of them. I went to the Champions League ones last season, and they were really good. Really, really good to see them, you know.
Yeah, it's a nice record going to the Emirates, not losing a match.
No.
let's keep it going. Yeah, he seems.
Don't know how long it'll last, but anyway.
So there's no meltdowns when you come back home after an Arsenal match at the Emirates. Happy days. Craig Smith, Ian Gunnery. Eamon, you've been to some matches over the years. I'm sure your 3 favourite Arsenal matches, I say these were probably hard to knuckle down.
Yeah, well, I've over 400 to choose from. As I say, I'm like Dave O'Leary, 723 appearances at the end of the day. I'll do this in a 3-2-1, and I'll get through them quickly as to why. In third place, I'm going to the 20th of February 1988, and we played Manchester United in the fifth round of the FA Cup, right? And just to set the landscape, Thatcherism was in full flow, which is my nemesis. Asking me to support Thatcherism would be like asking me to support Tottenham, right? And one of the things Thatcherism did was it created a wealth divide between Southern England and Northern England. So the bitterness between Northern and Southern teams, but nonetheless, London had a big swagger, and the Arsenal had won the League Cup in 1987. We were a bit like the Arsenal team 2 years ago. We were a young coming team, and we had a bit of a swagger. Now, Liverpool at that time with John Barnes and Peter Beardsley and all these guys, they looked like Man City do now. They looked like they weren't going to be touched for years. And we ended up winning the league in 89. But that day in 88, the reason why it stands out is, first of all, there were 54,161 people in Highbury. Now, when Highbury finished up, it was a 38,000 stadium. So I was stood on the North Bank. So you can imagine what it was like crammed in like sardines, the smell of weed everywhere, right? And we paid, and by the way, that was not me. We paid, because this is we're not yet at the 9 o'clock watershed. We paid £7.50 in at the gate in the North Bank, right? But one of the reasons why the game stands out is that our captain Kenny Sansom was a left full back, and he'd been our big £1 million signing 8 years earlier. But we bought Nigel Winterburn. Nigel was actually playing on the right just before we bought Lee Dixon, right? And it was weird that Nigel playing on the right and all of that. And Alan Smith couldn't grab a goal. It was his first season. And Jesus, what happens in the first 5 minutes? Nigel goes down the right wing, crosses the ball, and Alan Smith buries it, right? Then we got another goal before halftime. Everything is great. Norman Whiteside at that stage was clapped out, but he was intent on doing GBH to everybody, as was that dickhead McClare. And United got a goal late on, right? And okay, time to worry. And then they got a penalty with a couple of minutes to go, into the North Bank. And this was the start of the Arsenal Man United big bitterness. Winterburn was in McClare's ear before he took the penalty. And honest to God, I can tell you, I stood on the North Bank, the ball sailed over my head. It went to high over the bar. And I just remember the excitement. And we beat them 2-1 in the FA Cup that day. So that's number 3. In second place, the fairly recent game, and it's the Bournemouth game from a couple of seasons ago. And remember, we were like a firecracker in a lucky bag that year. Nobody expected us to put. Come March, we're still leading the table. And we all sauntered out of King's Head, Grand Bournemouth. And we're all having a chat, The next thing, your man that invented contraception, what's his name? Billing. He sticks one in after 9 seconds. And we're thinking, that's not the way it was supposed to work. I think we had 31 shots that day. A few dodgy VAR decisions that didn't go our way. And then, Jesus, they get a corner on 55 minutes and they go 2-0 up. And I'm in the clock end and then Thomas Partey got a goal back on 60 minutes. And you could just sense something turning. Ben White gets an equaliser on 70 minutes. And then for the next 26 minutes, we absolutely peppered them, right? We just couldn't score. And then Reece Nelson digs that one out into the corner. And the reason why I cite that as one of my... I've never heard a noise in the stadium like that. Now, for every upside, every silver lining has a cloud, as you know. So we're all turned around. Myself and Matt Bourne became lovers for about 60 seconds. And the next thing, we whispered into Matt's ear as we were hugging each other, VAR. But the two of us went, oh, fuck, But there was the VAR checked it, goal, and we're all good to go. So that was number 2.
Just briefly, Eamonn, before you move on to number 1, how glad do you think Neto is now not to have Reece Nelson in the training ground? I say he's glad he never sees that face again.
Do you know what? Because I do endless research for this show, I had a quick look at the match highlights before I came on, and Neto was actually brilliant that day. In fact, he almost stopped Ben White's goal.
He did actually, yeah.
They had the new goal line technology on it. Right. My favourite game is when we won the league at Old Trafford in 2002. Yeah. I was friends with some when Man City were a real club supported by people who they were very funny Man City supporters because they weren't them, and there was a lot of City fans that I used to socialise with over there through friends of Irish friends, and one lad, he was the only red in the group, and he made the mistake of promising me, next time United play Arsenal in Old Trafford, I'll get you a ticket. It's right enough, in fairness to him. He rang me 2 weeks before the game, says, look, you could win the league here. I have a ticket for you. I said, fantastic. That's great. So the 8th of May 2002. So I was going through, I had to get a flight to Liverpool, and I was going through the train station in Liverpool, and you could see me, the gold Arsenal jersey, and those scousers coming up to me saying, hey lads, yeah, you want to beat some Manxie? You know, and it was great. And went to the game. I've been on the beer a good bit, but when Will Thor scored in the 56th minute, I was standing among the United fans, and the Arsenal section was just to my left, so I could feel the connection, you know. And I would be very respectful. Look, we've all brought supporters of other clubs in from time to time, and the golden rule is, I'm doing this as a favour for you, behave, right? So I was totally behaved, but I must have been looking at the clock non-stop, because after Viltard scored, I'm thinking, you know, please make this be over. There was no sign of any colours on it, and I was, you know, and I was with a United guy. And when we won, whistle blew, and you could see next to me, the Arsenal fans held out this banner, Old Trafford Champions section, and I'm thinking, how good is that? But I still stayed stony-faced until one fella behind me, he must have smelled the molecular air in me or something, and he said, he just referred to me as a twat, right? Fuck you, you twat, is what he said. And to be fair, all of the United fans around me, because we played them off the park that night, Martin Keown and Edu were immense.
Yeah,
right?
immense.
Roy Keane said in his book, there was men against boys that night, right? And, you know, after your man referred to me as a twat, about 5 people just pointed at him and said, no, you're the twat, pal. You know, I always appreciated that. You know, they knew I was an Arsenal fan. I didn't give anything away. They just probably knew by my body demeanour or whatever, but they knew I'd behaved and they respected that. And I did like that, you know. So that was that goes number one in my. I went back to a pub in Charlton, which is a suburb near Moss Side, and I went into a pub called the Royal Oak, which is a real Man City pub, and I got a round of applause coming in. So I mean, it didn't get any better than that, you know. Yeah,
Yeah,
yes.
that's good.
Yeah, what a night! Yeah, there's been many a great memory of when we go to places, Spurs in particular, and then yeah, obviously that night in Old Trafford was a nice one. Yeah, I think that was the year United absolutely won nothing, which was great. My favourite one now coming up to you, Sandra. Your 3 horror matches that you've attended or watched home or away in Europe or in the league, and there's been some shockers down the road. So take it away, Sandra. I've got.
I've never been to one. I've never been to a game we've lost.
I've got
So
the Samaritan countline number will be coming up in the right hand corner there.
Like in terms of ones I've attended to, I've never attended a bad game. Do you know what I mean? So like as I said, we've never lost. So in terms of probably like, I think kind of like losing to Chelsea in the Europa Cup final a few seasons ago, like that was, you know, sorry. And like just for like a Thursday evening, like Thursday, yeah. No, it was a Wednesday. Was it a Wednesday the final was on, or Thursday? Wednesday night. It was a Wednesday night. Like we packed out buskers on Temple Bar. Like it was thronged that day, do you know, that night. So that would be the one recent enough. That one. Going back on that 2015-2016 season that Leicester kind of won, I actually got grounded at Dublin Airport for the game in December. And I was like, I'm not missing another game. So when they changed the game again, so that kind of was the thing. It's like, it never minded about losing the flights. It's losing the tickets for the match. Like you're like, these are gold dust, you know?
100%,
You know?
yeah.
So I can't really obviously there's been plenty of games and we in the supporters club that we've lost and everything like that, you know what I mean? So like I remember last year's season now I was over in Portugal when we actually played City on that night in April and like we knew we were, you know what I mean? But just listen, I was the only one kind of probably from an Arsenal fan sitting there watching the game and just the amount of City and I was like, oh my God, get me out of here. You know, so look, there's probably plenty of watching games, but not that I've attended games, I have to say. So
the Europa League final, as horrific as it was, Alex Wolby scored an absolute screamer for us that night, in fairness.
Yeah.
But it
Yeah,
was
but you
just...
know the worst thing about that was he did that when we were 3-0 down and he made it 3-1. He gave us hope.
Yeah. So was, even at 3-1, that's saying it out. I know, Eamonn, you've watched us through many a year. Your 3 horror games that you've attended.
Look, I could do 2 obvious ones. Anecdotally, I'll tell you this. On my communion day, age 6th of May 72, we lost the FA Cup final to Leeds, and I refused to go out down the collection. You know, the communion collection. Just went on strike. So, you know, there you go. So I get into this misery early, you know. And I was at the Champions League final in 2006. But I can't say that was one of the worst because we'd had such a great day. It was such a great occasion. I went through Brussels and got the train down. It was fantastic and all of that. And the team did so well with 10 players, you know, that there was a kind of a feeling after that game that, you know what, we couldn't have asked any more of them, right? But my 3-2-1 are none of those. In third place, I have a game from the 27th of October 2019. I was there the day that Granit Xhaka and the fans fell out. And it was a horrible experience. We went 2-0 up early against Palace. Palace got a goal back before half-time, got another one just after half-time. That Unai Emery team, he did an impossible job, that man. There was gaps all over the pitch. Xhaka was being played in the wrong position. And I'll tell you what, whatever your feelings might be in Arteta, and you know what mine are, he made Xhaka into a world-class player in 2 seasons, right? He was being played out of position at that time. And I always felt Arsenal fans were very, very harsh on Xhaka. And I was there on another day when Emmanuel Abuyi was brought on as a left winger and was booed off the pitch and went off having been a substitute in tears. And, you know, Arsenal can be a very unforgiving place. And that's one of the things I can't stand. But I was there that day. And, you know, when Xhaka went off, you know, he walked off slowly. And some of the crowd started getting on his back. And that's when he threw the 2 fingers up to them and all of that. And I remember fans around me fighting, you know. It was disgraceful. It was a horrible feeling. And then just to cap all matters, when all that happened, Callum Chambers should have gotten the penalty. But if the ball broke loose, Socrates buries it with 5 minutes to go. And our friend, the first introduction, step forward, Mr. Jarrett Gillette on VAR, decided it should have been a free out and ruled the goal out. Unai Emery only lasted 4 weeks after that. But it was a horrible game to be at.
Yeah.
The second one I have is actually a 3-0 win. We beat AC Milan on the March 2012, 3-0 in the second leg of the Champions League last 16. The only problem was we'd lost the first leg 4-0, right?
I was at that, unfortunately,
yeah. You were at the 4-0?
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you about the 3-0, because everybody decided. I went with a Romanian pal of mine, right? And I should have known better when we were in the bar in the airport. And I said, "What will you have, Daniel?" And he said, "I said, will you have a lager?" He said, "Oh, I'm not drinking that shit." He says, "Started on the spirits now. This is like early doors, right? And like this is not like having a respectable vodka and tonic or a gin and tonic. This is a fella on the spirits, right?" So anyway, we had a day in London and all of that type of thing. And what I noticed was we were in the Blackstock, which is where the King's Head people had the lease on the Blackstock at the time. And I noticed that by 5 o'clock, all the Arsenal fans were pissed because everybody had made up their mind. Like, we weren't going to come to the game. We're 4-0 down. Sure, we might as well go and have a piss up. And Jesus, after half an hour, we're 3-0 up. The place was like a Status Quo concert. It was unbelievable. Like, our place wasn't known for the huge atmosphere at that time. So,
yeah.
Bro, before the days of Camden kerosene or whatever it is they sell these days, you're having a drink. You're having a drink at half time. We're thinking, this is possible here now, right? So Milan stifled us in the second half until Robin van Persie was put through 1-on-1. I was in the front row behind it, and I'm thinking, here it is. And I don't know what he tried to do. He tried to dink the ball over the goalkeeper or something. Van Persie normally would burst in it, you know?
Yeah.
And that was the chance gone. And coming out of that game, the feeling of how excited we had been to absolute dejection. Now, we did bring in Park Chu-young and Chamak on from Walcott and Oxlade-Chamberlain. So that'll tell you the state of affairs there. And my worst of all was the Carling Cup final, or the League Cup final, in February 2011 against Birmingham.
Oh, sweet Jesus. I
And,
was at that. That was horrendous.
Well, okay. Well, if you look at our front five, Wilshere, Rosicky, Nasri, Arshavin, and Robin van Persie, right? I'll say them names again. Wilshere, quality. Rosicky, quality. Nasri, quality. Arshavin, quality. Van Persie, quality. Keith Fahey, Zigic, Sebastian Larsson, Barry Ferguson. Right? We were playing against a bunch of cloggers. No, there's no disrespect to them players. But like, so I should have known it was all going to go wrong when I went for a pee at the airport before we got on the plane. I'd never met Liam Brady at that stage. I've met him many times since. My hero, right? And of course, I come back from the toilet and the Grim Reaper says to me, you missed Liam Brady. I said, what? Yeah, he stopped talking to us there for about 5 minutes. I don't know what you were doing. Right? And thinking, and of course, Liam had said, we'd be all right today, lads. We'd be okay. So the Grim Reaper, a mate of mine, he always says, I blamed Liam Brady on that cup final. He said everything would be okay, you know. But and then it was pissing rain all day. In the tube, we were outnumbered by a number of beluga heads from Birmingham, and it got very tense. Robin van Persie gets a great equaliser and proceeds to crock himself in the process. Right, he done his ligaments.
He broke his foot.
But the worst of all was when we went 1-down, we got 1-1, the game settled, and there's a minute left. And you know, I mean, I'd like to think that I had half a brain about analysing football. And when the ball was being set up for the throw in, right, I'm thinking to myself, when this throw-in comes to nothing, I'm looking at the other end of the pitch, and I'm thinking, Birmingham are shot to pieces. If we can get the ball out wide, they're wide open, right? And I'm looking up this end of the pitch, and the next thing I hear, the roar. Look, the ball is in our net. Koscielny and Szczesny crashed into each other, and Obafemi Martins then, he could have thrown his cap in it and rolled it in, you know? I couldn't believe it. So I didn't see the goal because I'm looking up to it. And then we proceeded to go back to Islington. And I've never seen such a gang of drenched, depressed, grief-stricken adults in all my life. It was a horrible day, you know. And that's up there with my worst of all, you know. And I think that cost us. We were in the running for the title that year.
That's right. Our season went downhill after that, yeah. We
just coughed up a 4-0 lead away to Newcastle the week before, you know?
Yes, right, yeah. I remember I was actually at that League Cup final as well, Eamonn, and my mate Dave Lee was with me. And as that throw-in was being taken in, he was saying, this is going to extra time. Goes up to the bar where we were watching in Wembley. Yeah. Goes up to the bar. I look literally at the telly. It's gone in. he turns around, instead of getting 2 rounds in, he goes off, and the next time I see him is back in the Ibis Hotel. it was such poetically done. I was looking for him for about 15 minutes, and he'd gone out the door. He was just depressed. I think the other one briefly was the 6-1 against United when we had Stepanovs and Grimaldi as centre backs. That was the worst Arsenal 11 against United, and I think we even equalised through Henry when it was 1-0. Back to yourself again, Sandra. Your 3 favourite signings over the years that you've been a supporter that have made a significant impact for the club.
Well, definitely kind of like, Bergkamp and Henry, like, you know what I mean? That was just,
magic.
Like, you know what I mean? And to go on from there, like, to kind of get the Invincibles year, like, you know what I mean? That was just amazing, like, So definitely those 2. It'll be after that then. I did like Xhaka, I have to say. Like, I did like Xhaka. Like, seeing him playing in the Europe at that time, like, you know what I mean, playing for Switzerland, and then he came, like, you know what I mean. I did really, really like him, and I thought it was really, really good for the club. Just came to a kind of a bitter end. But like, when he was there back, like he got a good response, which was good, So I quite admired him. All right, definitely. Yeah. So I'd say they're my 3.
There's definitely Dennis Bergkamp, as Amy said earlier on, what an impact he made when he came in under Bruce Rioch. Magical, and Henry and Jackie's a good pick as well, Sandra. Eamonn, over your years of supporting the Arsenal, your 3 impact signings.
Not necessarily. The signings that made an impact on me, not necessarily. This wouldn't be my analysis of the impact they made on the club, but the impact they made on me. I mean. And I referenced this in the Newcastle preview. When we signed Malcolm MacDonald in 1976, I mean, people that wouldn't be old enough wouldn't understand. I mean, that would be like us signing Erling Haaland then.
Yeah.
He was a 30-goal-a-season striker, Newcastle United legend, London boy. And we just avoided relegation. That's the thing. We had just avoided relegation 2 seasons in a row. And all of a sudden, for £333,333 and 33 pence, £250,000, all of a sudden, Malcolm MacDonald's a gooner. And that was the start of the rise of a young Arsenal team with Liam Brady, Frank Stapleton, David O'Leary. Malcolm MacDonald, he only played 2 seasons for us because his career was cut short by injury, and he bags 30 goals each season with a young team. So that was the start of Arsenal rising to the team that won the 1979 Cup final with Liam at its centrepiece. The Dennis Bergkamp signing, I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. I'm thinking, I mean, putting my football analysis head on, I said, how in the name of Jesus now is he going to fit into a team that goes woof up the middle? I mean, we were shocking at that time. Now, in fairness to Bruce Rioch, he might have been just a patch-up manager to do a job while David Dean really wanted Wenger at the time. But his team played football. He got the ball down on the deck and made Dennis the centrepiece of the team. And like Dennis, you're talking about a guy. If you ever read Dennis Bergkamp, he's one autobiography, and he talks about the technical side of the game rather than just his life, And this guy, when the ball is rolling to me, I look at the 3rd panel from the bottom and I hit it. I'm thinking, this is different gravy altogether, And when, like, the Arsenal players themselves, when Bergkamp came into training, they just went, Jesus, what's this carry on? This fella's from a different planet. And then the 3rd one is Declan Rice. And I tell you why. Because it actually gave me one day's headpiece when we signed Declan Rice and the meltdown on the Dublin Arsenal Supporters Club thread stopped. Because I remember Sky Sports ran a story, Declan Rice, Man City bid for Declan Rice. Do you remember that night? And there was about 100 messages saying, typical Arsenal, couldn't pay the money, didn't it? Absolutely shocking. And I knew Declan Rice was signing for the Arsenal, and I was trying to say to people, Declan Rice will not be going to Man City. He will be signed. I knew that deal was done. Yeah. And the reason why I knew it was done, I had West Ham inside information. Declan Rice has gone to Arsenal. That deal had been done since the previous December, you know. And but I was just so relieved he signed, just to stop the meltdown, you know. But as it happens, he's money well spent. We got him at half the price. That's Declan Rice, you know. Yeah.
There's been some, it's impact signings for us, but there has been some quality signings over the years from different managers that have given his memory a great memory, you could say, you know, like, especially for me in recent years, definitely Thierry Henry, just because of the goals he scored and I suppose the importance of them. You know, he's just top scorer for the guts of 2 or 3 seasons, you know, and it's just like what Saka is now. He lifted fans off their seats, you know. The minute he got the ball, you knew there's something happening here, you know. Just it's so special memories. Sadly, I never got to see a game at Highbury, but the Emirates is fast becoming our home now. You know, you can see it over the last 2 or 3 years under Arteta, and obviously Sandra being there, that we haven't lost a game. That's evidence enough.
Well, no.
Probably because you come on this
anyway.
show, Sandra is probably all going to go downhill to Joan as though we are. No, it's been fantastic getting your insights from your memories of Arsenal through the years, lads. It's been a great show. Would you like anything mentioned, Sandra, about the Dublin Arsenal Supporters Club before we wrap up or anything?
No, obviously we'll be back in now on Saturday for the Arsenal and Forest game, and I haven't been in now in a few weeks just with other things going on, but I'm looking forward to getting back in because it is an outlet. Like, take me as a female Gooner. A lot of, like, it's very hard to find you know, a lot of female fans around where I'm from, and that's the reason why I got involved with a supporters club years ago, initially because I love football. Do you know what I mean? And I love it, and it's totally my outlet. And like, like, you'll see such a smile on my face, like, even though I could be talking about a loss, but like, I just love it. And to become involved in a supporters club, and then obviously I was working in Dublin and I got to meet and then joined Dublin Arsenal Supporters Club. It's amazing, like, the amount of friendships. It's not even like, you know what I mean? Like, we're all together for the love of Arsenal. That's the where it is. But building up these friendships that you build up, and like, as I said, you're never on your own with football, but being part of Dublin Arsenal Supporters Club, it's amazing. Like, it really, really is. And we've taken it to a great level, like, you know what I mean? And the lads are doing amazing work with social media. They're getting so much views and everything. It's brilliant, like, you know what I mean? So long may it go on, and we'll keep meeting in the River Bar for each game as the season goes on. So, and hopefully, maybe we might be in there for the Champions League.
Fingers crossed. Yeah.
Fingers crossed. Yeah.
A big shout out to Derek, our Polish gooner that does our TikToks for us as well. He does amazing work, and obviously the man that puts this together, Martin Stumble, as well.
Jonathan, I actually have a message for the Dublin Arsenal Supporters Club
from our very own
president. The President of Ireland, Michael. Hello, all you Dublin Arsenal Gooners. Whistle the whirling, whispering wind. That's my alliteration. Michael Day is always a big gooner on the show. You know?
I'd just like to thank Sandra Duffy from the Dublin Arsenal Supporters Club for coming on this evening. Thanks very much, Sandra. How do you think she got on, Eamonn? If this was an exam, do you think she passed?
Oh, she's quality, mate. Quality.
Yeah,
you might see me before the end of the season.
She's a quality Richard III, mate.
Hopefully she'll be on
thanks
more
a million. I'm glad I finally said yes to come on. So yeah.
It's not as nerve-wracking as it seems, Sandra. You got through really well. You know? Yeah. If our away fans can get through half an hour or so with myself and Eamonn, you can certainly get through it. No, it's been brilliant. Great to have your insights and memories as Arsenal, and continued success in the Dublin Arsenal Supporters Club as well. I'd like to thank Sandra, of course, for coming on, and to my regular guest, Eamonn Donnelly, as always. Just before we finish, to support our very own Martin Stumble, as I said, for Men's Mental Health Month, November. He's doing 60k as well. Any donations are appreciated. It's such a fragile thing, mental health, especially in men. So it's a great month to have it. I think it's being winter and all, and being the doom and gloom. So any donation, no matter big or small, big thank you to everyone that has done it already. So until our preview show later on in the week, have a great week, lads, and thanks for listening.